My name is Sylvia. I'm passionate about languages, English in particular. Welcome to my world of English. Hi, Alex.
Hi, Sylvia.
So nice to meet you today.
Yeah, nice to meet you too today.
Yeah, have the opportunity to talk to you. But I will ask you at the very beginning of our conversation, I will ask you a question you might not expect a little bit, I guess, because I'm going to ask you to tell us the story of your name, because I know that your original name is Alexandra, which is a bit Polish, which is thoroughly Polish, but the name that you use, that you keep on going with is Alex. So what is the story behind this name?
Yeah, so I am quite adamant with most people that I meet that I'm Alex, not Ola, because I prefer Alex due to my time in an international school, where when
that's something I was suspecting.
Yes, yeah. So when
it's easy to pronounce, I believe.
It is, because when they saw my name on the list of students, they automatically were like, "Oh, okay, so we'll just call you Alex." And I was like,
"Yep, why not?
Yeah, sure, I can go with that." And so that kind of stuck. And when I came back to Poland, and I actually tried at first to use Alex, and
was it difficult for any of your Polish friends?
It was. I think the problem was not so much with the kids, but with the adults. They just couldn't get past that, this instinct that they see Alexandra and they don't read. They don't even read Alexandra. How hard it is to actually hear my full name. I swear there's like a handful of people whom I appreciate greatly who actually call me by my actual name. So Alexandra. So thank you for that if you're listening to this. So I tried a couple times. I signed my name, Alex, on like math tests. And I remember to this day, my math teacher just, handing out the corrected test. And she was like, "Alex, is there a new boy in the class?"
That was
another
like, question I was going to ask you. Like, were you ever taken to be a boy because of that name?
Yes, I was. And that was...
well, it is very hard to mistake you for one.
Yeah. My partner's grandfather, he's, a bit impish. So he likes to, make these jokes about especially me insisting on being called Alex. Still in Polish. And he's like, "Alex? But that's a boy's name." And they were like, "It's okay if you're going out with a boy." I was like, "No, I'm a girl, I'm sure." And it is also a girl's name. So
yes. I would think so, right? That this is also a girl's name and a boy's name. Yeah.
But a funny anecdote with Alexandra is that I was in Canada. I was doing an exchange there at the University of British Columbia. And it was the first day of a class. I think it was something with science fiction novels or stuff like that, or post-humanism. I can't recall now. And the teacher was going through the list, and he asked me how to pronounce my name. And I looked at him like, "What do you mean, how to pronounce my name?" He's like, "Well, how do you pronounce it?" "Well, Alexandra, you read the girl before me, Alexandra, so it's literally the same." And I couldn't believe that he's a native, and to him, the absence of the X, and because my name has KS, right?
Yes,
which we all know is
the Polish spelling, the way you write it.
Yeah, so for him, it was like this obstacle, like, wait, there's no X, there's a KS.
What do I do with that?
So that was really unexpected, I think.
Yeah. So this is quite a story story with your name, but we all call you Alex, and this is also how our students call you, right?
Yeah.
They work with Alex. This is the teacher. So I started with this story of your name because I was kind of suspecting, right, that there is a story behind it, because your story and the way you acquired the language, the way you started it, is very interesting. So now tell us, please, the story of your life. Of course, connected with English, right? Because that is very
okay. Thank you for narrowing it down. Because the story of my life. Okay, do you have a couple hours? So the story with my story with English. So I the first memories I have with English are, of course, cartoons. So I remember being in
Me the
kindergarten,
same.
and I remember Dexter's Lab. So Cartoon Network, back in those days, there really weren't that many translations. So there was no dubbing. It was just basically English.
And that was great. So
yeah.
to interrupt you, that was superb, because we as kids were so much into the cartoons. We wanted to know what was going on, and that was the language behind. And again, we use the word acquisition, right? So that was not learning, but it was the natural acquisition of the words.
Yeah, exactly. Because you basically, as kids, you absorb all this information from the outside world and the world around you. So it was actually quite awesome that they used to play these cartoons, air these cartoons in English. I think. I mean, I don't want to say all of them were in English. Maybe there were some Polish translations, and I'm misremembering. However, then when I was in kindergarten and I went to the first grade, so I think that I was about 6 or 7-ish.
But you were in Poland.
Yes, I was in Warsaw because I was born in Warsaw, and so we were living in Warsaw with my family. And around the age of 7, my father had to transfer all of us
had to go.
We had
the
to,
family.
we had to go all together to Amsterdam because of his job. So he was offered like a position there, and he took it, and they offered for all of us to come as part of the deal, this relocation package.
Put very nicely, part of the deal.
So it was kind of a big adventure for the whole family. Our parents, because at the time I had one brother. Now I have 2, but so my parents enrolled my brother and I in an English course to sort of prepare us mentally that this will be the language you will hear.
And again, that was back in Poland.
That was back in Poland. So that was we were living in the Kabaty area, if you know Warsaw at all. So so we went to a really small English school in that area. But I can't say that it was extremely helpful to. I don't feel like I was entirely prepared for what was coming.
So what was the problem? Yeah,
the problem was that when I arrived in Amsterdam, we were enrolled at an American school, not American but international. It's called the International School of Amsterdam, and it's awesome. So I really enjoyed my time there. But at the time when we were there weren't any Polish speakers at the school. Simply, there were no other Polish kids. Later on,
that's why you can speak the language that well, because you were pushed by the environment.
There was like. If I wanted to talk Polish, I would have to find my brother, but we were not in the same class or in the same grade, so it was not that easy to coordinate. And the problem was that the English that we had from the course back here was very limited. So I have to say the knowledge of head, shoulders, knees, and toes did not help in communicating that much. I mean, great that I knew that it was the head, but yes. So at the beginning, there were a couple of language mishaps. Let's call them that.
Do you remember any of them? Because that's the fun part, I would say.
My brother and I, we had different attitudes. So I spent the first 3 months basically escaping any chance I got to the bathroom to cry. And my brother refused to talk for like 6 months.
Wow. So here comes the drama.
Yeah. So
trauma.
So he took, but he was actually all the while, because he learns from listening. He's one of those rare people who just needs to listen, and then he just absorbs.
Again, I will keep on interrupting a little bit, but whenever you say something that big, I would like to comment on that. So it only shows that we are different. Yes, I mean that every learner is different, and this is what we also want to do and see in people, in students, right? That we need to check what they like, whether it is the one who would learn through listening more, or the one who would learn more through graphics and the written piece. Yeah. So your brother is that type of a learner.
Yeah, I would say he's out of all of us in my family. He's very he's influenced by listening. So he remembers more just through listening to podcasts, to lectures and stuff like that. I need to write things down. I'm kind of like a tactile person, so I need to feel the action. So although he wasn't speaking for the first like couple of months, he was
But
apparently
he was coding.
Yes, he was. It was registering in his brain somewhere. So he was basically learning. I was a bit different, and I started speaking like after like a couple of days. I started to try to communicate. One time I remember my teacher really scared me because I asked her for, and that was before I actually, knew there's a difference between British English and American English. And I was like, okay, to me, it was just English, like survive. I need to survive. And to survive, I needed to locate.
I need words, names, and just to call things.
Yeah, I wanted to locate an object in the classroom. So I asked for rabbits. And my teacher was like, yeah, your rabbit is right there. Because I did, back in those days, go to school with a plush toy. It was a rabbit. Because, emotional support.
Yep.
And so she was like, yeah, it's right there. I was like, no, a rabbit. And she was like, yes, your rabbit is right there. Like, what do you mean? And it just went on for a while before we established that I meant to say the British word for eraser. Which I will not even attempt now to say because obviously I can only say rabbit. So I just wanted an eraser, which... correct me if I'm wrong, but in British English it would be a rubber, right?
Yes, that would be the thing. Yes,
that was one of my biggest fails at the beginning.
But then I guess it proves just two things. So one thing is the survival element, right? So you will keep on going because you need to get what you wanted. But at the same time, I would like to draw our attention to pronunciation still, because that is important. Yes, if you put this effort, and stress what you really want to say, because then we get mixed words, right, and say different things. So again, you are this example of a speaker of the language, and this example of a teacher who acquired the language, right? So again, you can put yourself in the shoes of the students that you are working with, right? Because you were there. Yes. Scared, let's say a little bit, because this is what we deal with on a regular basis, I would say, with the students, right? Being a bit scared and unconscious and not that much confident. But then with a little bit of push, the barrier disappears.
Yeah.
And we get the speakers.
Yeah, because I think you're exactly right that I can understand, I guess, my students a little bit better when it comes to, learning English, because most of them have this need. They need to communicate.
Yes. They need it somewhere there.
Yes.
The job offers, the holidays,
the friends,
exactly.
The meetings.
The hobbies, right? Because there are people who just need the language for their hobbies. Like I remember one of our students is a diver. And of course, when you go to different countries, you have to communicate with the diving instructors in English. So you need the language, right? So so it is stronger, right? The need is stronger than the fear, I would say.
Yeah, so exactly. So after a while, all barriers really do come down because the need, like you said, is stronger. It wins. Yeah. You just have to. You have to start communicating, or again, you can choose to just be quiet and sit in a corner. But
and how does it make you feel? Finally, when the battle is over, like you won it, right? That you no longer have to sit in the corner, because yes, I can do it. I can pick up the phone. I can answer. I can say something. I can just get promoted. And
well, I was actually just yesterday talking with one of our students how the battle is never really over. I still am learning English, even though I am at I have the highest level of certificate. I
close to native.
Yeah, I completed my studies and everything, and I have no problem communicating at all. However, I don't really consider being done learning.
That's a great thing also. Yes. So I also present myself whenever I have this chance to our students that we are just like them. Of course, the level is a little bit different, but we are just like them because we still keep on learning, right? Every day, because there is this English press, there are the films and everything that we keep on watching. And actually, it never ends in the sense that you have to keep the fire going.
Yeah, exactly.
But there is the feeling, there is the day comes when you suddenly just say, hey, I understand, I can actually communicate. I'm not afraid anymore, right? And this feeling is fantastic, I would say.
But even at our level, right? Even if you are close to native, right? Or almost native, you, and even natives actually, I've had like situations where I was talking to native friends and they asked me what this word that I used meant. I was like, well, it's your language, so you tell me.
Yeah, that's another thing. That's another thing. I was this witness of a situation. I was experiencing this situation. I was taking part in this English class or literature class. I don't remember, back in Britain. That I was back in Britain, and they asked me. Yes, they asked me what a given word means or meant. Was it the word, like, I don't know, like embezzlement or something? And because they are also learning words, and this is the misconception that very often we have, that the native speaker knows it all.
Yeah,
well, they don't know it all. We are native speakers of Polish, and we are close to being native speakers of English, and everybody, each of us, we keep on learning, because the language is a living thing, right?
Yeah,
it keeps
exactly.
keeps on going.
I love that. I love that we say that language is a living thing, that it just keeps evolving. New words are entered into, the English dictionary almost every day or every year, at least. And sometimes even errors become the norm. I mean, there are examples.
The lie that is repeated becomes the truth. That's what I say.
Yes. So an anecdote that I have connected with this is that I was correcting some students' essays. That was it's already when I was teaching and a writing class at the University of Warsaw, and I was like, "Oh, this is an error." Like I was shook. Okay, you can't say you were shook. That's kind of weird. And then I had to, apologize to my students that, oh yeah, you know what? I actually checked. You can say shook now. Because I thought that he meant like I was shaken or something, but no, shook is like an actual word when you're like something really affected you and has shaken you.
So we also can learn from our students. Yeah. That's what happens. That's what happens with each other and one another, right? We can now use like each other for every situation, right? That was different back then. But there's one question I want to ask you. So you told me that you had this conversation with your students. Yesterday, that you also keep on learning the language, right? That you keep on evolving yourself. Does it help them that you present yourself as a living creature? That you are kind of similar to them? Because I always stress it out that on the one hand, we are teachers of language, but on the other hand, we are also speakers of the language. So we are just like them. And when you put yourself in their shoes, does it help them? Because I guess that very often I've got this feeling that when they see that we are just like them, we are people, we are speakers of the language, we are learners of the language, that it helps them because we can understand them.
Yeah, I think that what is helpful is that you present yourself, again, like you said, as one of that you were in their shoes like not so long ago. First of all, second of all, these little anecdotes about the errors of native speakers are also quite uplifting to many. Like, okay, so
they also make mistakes.
They all, exactly. So even they can make some. There are thousands of examples. Like just a couple of weeks ago, my brother and I were watching. On YouTube, we were watching the greatest rants of Gordon Ramsay because, you got to admit, the guy can rant. I told him like, oh, look, those, there were some women at the table complaining about how rude he was to them. And I was like, oh, she made a mistake. And, it was like, great. So even natives can sometimes slip.
That. And there is also an exercise that we actually can perform in class, right? That you take the tweets, or some posts of famous people, and you just look for mistakes. And there are mistakes. And say, hey, there we go. They made a mistake. So I guess that, again, this psychological element is very important. It's a key factor, right? We all make mistakes, even at the greatest level. And we, meaning what I meant here is rather the native speakers also make mistakes. That's what I actually meant. I wanted also to today to talk about the graphics and the written word, because you are the one who helps us with the content creation. Because
I try.
Remind me, how do we know each other? Well, we work. We work together. So this is how we met. And so what about this written word? How does it help people actually to develop their speaking skills?
Well, I'm like a big fan of literature. Like, as you know, I studied literature at university, and I'm actually still studying in many ways because I'm trying to complete my PhD. Professor, I swear I'm writing, if you're listening to this. And I think that what I always believe is that the moment you start creating your own sentences in a different language, that's when you're really actually learning the most. Yes, watching TV helps. Yes, listening to podcasts, to music helps. Yes, reading is, I think, essential because when you read, that's when you internalize subconsciously, of course. It's not like you are actively internalizing.
But this is the input. Right?
Yes.
So listening and reading is the input. And then we also need to go to the output. So that is speaking and writing.
Yeah, so exactly. So, and speaking is easier for many people because they want to communicate. That's their number one goal. But I think writing could be one of your best friends when you're learning. Even though personally, like I get it, I hate writing in French. I really, really suck at writing in French.
So here comes a question of languages. How many languages do you speak, or in how many languages can you communicate?
So I can speak fluent English. I am fairly communicative in German and French, and I can hold a basic conversation in Japanese, and I have passive knowledge of Dutch. So
that's impressive. Yes.
You.
So you know how to learn languages, and that's why you also know how to teach languages. So coming back to the written word and the French, you said you hate writing in French.
I hate writing in French because French is one of those trap languages that when you have a word that seems easy enough when you hear it, and then you find out it has like a billion letters. Like they don't even pronounce them; they're just there physically when you write the word. So that's why I don't enjoy French when it comes to writing.
But we enjoy English, and that's what we want to do.
But I do have to admit that the minute you start creating, like, one of my favorite learning techniques is the method of journaling. So I actually still use it myself whenever I can.
I guess we made a post out of it.
Yes, we do. We have made a post, exactly. Yeah. So you basically take a word that is new to you, or you've seen it, but you are not sure if you would be able to use it in a sentence yourself. You write down its definition. You write out your quote because the context. I always stress this. Context is.
I keep repeating that in every recording that there is. I use the word context, because without context, it is a waste of time. I'm sorry to say.
It's just a random sign. So context is essential, but then the process of creation is essential. So you do, or you should try to use this word in your own way. That is why
and it becomes yours, right?
Yeah.
It is somehow glued. I sometimes use the expression that it's glued. But when you learn language through your own experience, that is your idiolect, right?
Yeah.
That becomes your language, and it is not artificial. And I guess that one of the things that people usually complain about is that their teaching methods are very artificial because they are studying about subjects they are not interested in. That they even exercise that is artificial. And of course, yes, we have to say it, that studying any language, right, outside the country, the given country, is artificial. But what we try to make it as natural as possible, right? Because we want to get to the people, right, to their needs, to their interests, right, to what they do. And this is a great thing that you're talking about right now, that this creation you mentioned, right? This just proves when you create your own sentence, it becomes yours.
Yeah, my students know, and they probably silently hate me for it, that I guess
they don't.
I love these kind of English learning exercises that I throw back at them the words that we've seen and talked about during our previous meetings, and I tell them, okay, so I'm going to give you a random topic, and I also love using these internet randomizers, so like the Wheel of Fortune kind of thing, or like random image generators to force a random discussion topic on a person and force them to use the words that we saw together by themselves, like on their own. So not just reading out, pre-made dialogue, but just to actually use it in your own way.
That's true. And then this is how the brain works, right? So they create the link, right? Like then when they are stressed, and this is another factor. Many people just tell me or you, so I can say they tell us, because I guess you hear it, right, on a regular basis, that when they have to say something, and there is this element of stress, because there is always stress, right? Presenting yourself in your mother tongue is stressful. In a foreign language, it is even more stressful. So the element of stress is always there. But when you have these links, when you have these connections in your brain, it is so much easier. But when you have like this English word, and then next to it you have just the Polish translation, and there is this car accident, and you have to talk to the police officer and tell them, hey, they damaged my car, right? Or my car scratched or whatever. Then you don't know what to do because you just know the word and the equivalent. So that's why I think we could say it out loud, that we are so much against learning words by heart, memorizing words by heart. I mean, it is fine when you learn it with the translation, but then here comes the context, right? So the creation process, right? So the writing process or the speaking process, when you have to produce your own language, I believe.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not like I'm against learning a little bit by heart. Like I don't think we both,
I agree.
Right? Because there are certain set phrases. People always ask, no, I just need a couple of set phrases that would make it easier. Yeah, set phrases are great. Like for example, when we teach people how to order things at a restaurant, that's when set phrases are golden. Like I would like, or can I get, or I will have. These are things that we will probably just should memorize, and so that you can use them easily. But there is a difference between those kind of phrases and just simply cramming all these different words. Like this is
producing your own language. Yeah. The graphics. Yes, we talked a little bit about that, because in the content we also get the graphics, some visuals, and we will kind of come back also to the very beginning of this discussion, because you mentioned your brother, who was this listening type. So we've got one type, of a learner, somebody who's learning through listening, and you presented yourself a little bit as a different type of a learner, because you need to write things down, and I think that would be. I believe that would be some very lovely piece of advice to all the students, that this is what they can also do in between the classes, right? So producing this text and adding a picture next to it, or some graphics, or
it's really what I always say that like we had this post, right? How to learn new vocabulary, right? Yeah. So you do have to treat it as an inspiration to find what works for you. Because for me, for example, so as I mentioned, I have two brothers. So one, can just listen to a lecture,
so there's a little bit of private information. Right? We are learning there are two of them, not just one.
So one is awesome because he learns by just listening to stuff. The other one can simply read a whole textbook, and he's good. He's got it.
Okay. There are such people.
I imagine that medievals, monk sitting and transcribing. So I'm that person. I need to have the book. I need to have my notebook, and I just make these neat little
and that
notes.
Is great. So let's say it out loud, right? So any method that gets you there is great, because we are all different. We are different learners of the language, and you can do different stuff, right? So you can take your notes, you can color them. But coming back to you, because I interrupted.
No worries. I'm personally, I need to write stuff down, and it cannot. I tried.
And see them.
See them. But also, I need the physical act of writing. So, I cannot do it on the computer. I really need to write something with my hand. So I need to use a pen, and there needs to be paper.
So this is what we sometimes also I do. Again, I say we, because I believe you also do that. So with the materials, right? The students that the students get, they can rewrite things. Yeah. So they very often they ask me like, what shall I do with that? I mean, do what you want, right? Actually, we've got this great technology now, so it just shortens the way. So you can record it if you are more of this, listening type of person, right? Or you can just rewrite it, as you say. So, and this is again a very, very lovely, element that you mentioned right now. That yes, indeed, there is this correlation between the eye, and the hand and the brain. So this very act of writing also helps very, very much. But let me stress it once again, that we are all different. So it works for somebody, and for other people, it is not their method. That's why this individualism or individual approach is so important, right? Because you can speed up this process of learning, right? Because you know it.
Yeah, and you have to remember it's trial and error. So you just need to figure it out on your own what works for you. So don't worry if something, if you try listening to podcasts and you decide like, nope, I just don't really get much out of it. Yeah, because maybe maybe you're not that kind of a learner. Maybe you need to,
so maybe you
like
need the
me,
transcript or something.
yeah,
you need to look
you
at
need
it,
to
listen,
write something.
and,
Yeah, exactly.
and then rewrite it.
Or maybe like at one point in time, I was a big fan of just, putting like lists of words around the house. So like when I was trying to learn German.
On yellow stickies, possibly.
Yeah. Or I was, no, I made the effort, and I actually, I've created like these little pretty pieces of paper with like different words on them, and just put them, and they had.
And was there any coloring and
yeah,
any pictures?
there was. I color coded them, so because I can't remember what I was learning, but I was learning something that was pretty hard. So yeah, I put them on my closet, I think. Back then I still had a closet. So yeah, I was trying to, because I needed to pass the B2 level exam in German. So that's when I tried to I needed to cram a lot.
The words and that
yeah. I had to memorize a lot of vocabulary, because the B2 level does test your vocabulary among other things. So
much, yeah. So there is this mixture, right, of listening, because this is something we can't forget, right? And actually, when studying a language, you have to practice all channels, right? And this is this fun fact that. That's why I said it, that this writing actually helps you in speaking. This is the thing, right? So you write, but then the speaking comes, and it is easier for you to speak. And what about reading? So we're coming to this input, right? Input material, because you called yourself a great fan of literature. We know, right, that you devour books, that you love literature. And how would you use that, or how did that help you again? Because you are a speaker of many languages. How did that help you in this acquisition of languages, right? That you were reading different pieces. So I also imagine that they are the pieces from, well, newspapers. That's not literature, but from newspapers, from some blog posts, but also from the very literature. Like from the books, like from and poems.
So I remember at the very beginning, when I was, a struggling English speaker, at the international school, there was this big library, and the librarian was a lovely lady named Paula. Paula, thank you for making me read.
Because there are such people, we remember them, like there was Paula in this library.
Yeah, but she was so nice and encouraging. And I have to say, the ESL teachers there were also very encouraging when it comes to reading. So the first thing I remember about learning English at the international school was exactly, I was given these tiny little books of fairy tales, so Goldilocks, or this Japanese tale, I think, of Momotaro, so like a boy who's born out of a peach, and if I remember correctly. And so what helped with English, with learning a language, and these kind of tales, is that they do provide you with some kind of a blueprint. So you're learning to tell. So yeah, but by reading, I was learning that okay, so first this happened, then this happened, then this happened. Exactly. Oh wait, so that is kind of that is kind of past simple, isn't it? And so I don't actually recall ever being taught like, this is past simple, this is present perfect. What I remember is like, okay, so you have this story, and the story goes like this, and there was something happening in the background, but the most important action was this one.
But this again just proves that you were learning, and this is what we believe in very much. I believe in that myself, that you were learning the language this natural way, right? I mean, there was the academic study also, because you went to school, right? So we had classes in English, how to write properly, how to speak properly, how to pronounce
syntax.
Syntax properly. But then in the background, in the foreground, however we call that, there was this natural approach. So you were learning it exactly the same way, just like kids just learn their own language, right? So as you called it, right? So they are just coding, right? Just learning that, okay, so this is the noun, right? This is the verb. We don't call that. We don't say it. We don't give names to that specifically. But this is how they learn the structure. And I think this is the most important thing. So I would say that there is not a single teacher in the world who can teach a given student all the words that are there. But what we can teach them is the structure, just to make them feel safe, even if they are in some unknown situation, because they will feel safe, right? That, oh yes, so it goes like that, and I feel safe. And this is that's why I can speak the language, because this confidence. Yes, we are building this confidence. This is the crucial thing something. Many people can speak the language, or, well, the other way around. They know the language, right? But they are so much afraid, and we are just trying to help them to say, hey, yes, you can do it. You can learn it. And coming back to these stories in the library, and Paula, do you remember, right?
Yeah, Paula.
And your eyes, they get bigger. Like, Paula.
Yeah, I promised myself I'd give her a little shout out. But there is a really big, in my opinion, there's a connection between reading and writing. So,
very much so. And speaking.
Yeah, and speaking, of course. But the fact is that when you're reading, you are exposing yourself to a certain material that's already coded in a certain way.
Yep.
And what happened at that school where I was learning English was that they just asked me to do something similar. Okay, so you have the story, so write a story like this yourself.
Like this
and so it was easier once you've seen, they've given you several examples of something, and all you had to do was basically replicate it. They weren't looking for anything creative.
The word I use is stealing, because we teach our students to steal. Don't be afraid to steal the language, because somebody else, like centuries ago, they used it already. So do not, like push open doors. Yes, the doors are open there for you. So yes, this copying is a great thing.
Yeah.
And what about the level of the materials? Because I guess that we could help also our students to provide them with the right level, the material of any books or stories that they are going to read, because I see the little bit of a risk in there when people try to do it on their own, but they don't know how to do it. So either they take the level that is too like the language that is too simple, so they are reading those fairy tales and they say, hey, I don't want to read about rabbits, not robbers, but the rabbits. And then the other end of the story is that they just go and choose, they choose Shakespeare and Dickens, something very serious. And after half of the page, they say, no, I'm just lost. I wouldn't manage. So there is the problem that we need to guide them as well. Yeah,
you do need to consult. Actually, you don't need to even consult teachers. But a really good, as someone who works at a good bookstore will probably be able to also.
But I would still say that this is at least this, this consultation thing, at least somebody, I would call a teacher, because, this is who our students know. So I would call them still a teacher. But somebody who will help you out, because it is easy to get lost.
Yeah, because I myself, when I was just starting out with French, my first instinct was, I remembered, okay, I was a kid. They taught me English through fairy tales, so I'm going to just replicate that. I'm just going to also read some fairy tales in French. And my teacher was like, no, they use a completely, because, that's the problem with French. They have a completely different past tense for telling fairy tales.
There you go. So here comes the role of the teacher. I was stressed.
So I was like, oh, and they told me the language used in the classic fairy tales by Perrault isn't going to help you much at this point. Just save it for another time.
Yes.
Just maybe try this or that. And so that's when a teacher comes in handy, because you have a guide to point out that this would maybe be more effective if you're looking to work on this or that.
Exactly. So the kind of advice that I give is when they ask me about this reading material is that you really don't need to look for books that will change your life. After you read them, something will open up, or there will be this element of epiphany coming or anything. But I would just even go for books that are simpler, in the story, but the pleasure, the happiness. Yes, I can read. I don't have to look every word up in a dictionary. I can read, I can understand, and I can go deep into the very story. So this is what makes them very happy. And the element of a dictionary, because this is also but the questions that we get very often is that they when they start reading, right, when there is a word they don't understand, immediately they reach out for a dictionary. Would you say this is a good thing, a good solution?
Depends again on the learner, I think, because some people have this nature that they just need to understand every single word that they're reading. And
but then again, I would also say that the context would help a little bit. So if there are 2 words a page and you don't understand them, just leave them. This is how I learned back then, many years ago, pencil skirt. Oh, that has to be the thing. I guess this is the thing I'm thinking about. Yeah, so this is how I learned that. But I would omit, or I would discourage people from just taking these lengthy pieces, and then they have to look like every word or every other word. So this is when the discouragement comes, and this is this is why I discourage people from reading, Dickens. I mean, Dickens is great, but not at the very beginning, I would say, of your starting process.
So you're right. Like Dickens, Shakespeare, Joyce, maybe
you'll get there. There.
Austen is a bit more reader friendly, you have to say. But a great method is that I sometimes used is that I just took maybe some people will now scream on the inside, but I took a pencil and I just marked the word in the book, and for later, like I'll get back, but I don't want to get because I don't like getting out of this reading zone. I want to focus on the gist of the story rather than on the details. So this is a mistake people make very often. Just go enjoy the story. Just find out what is going to happen. Are they going to live happily ever after? Or are they going to split up or something? But you don't need every single word to understand that. But this is a great thing. Yes, you will come back there. But very often you understand that from the context. Yeah. So just see because actually many times the word is repeated and somehow explained later on. So you just need to move to the next paragraph and you'll discover what it meant. So
that would be the easy part.
Yeah.
And the language that is there, but you admitted that you are a speaker, or you can communicate or passively communicate in a couple of languages. Definitely it helped you. It has helped you. It has been helping you. There you go. A couple of sentences used already in one sentence. It has been helping you in your travels, right? Because you've got this experience, right, of traveling, of visiting, because you are more of this American origin, so to say, in the language, but also you've been to Britain, right? You have traveled there. You have lived there?
In Britain, I've only spent around a month, so like the longest at one time, right? So, and again, this was
go.
At one go. Okay.
That was good. That was good.
No, I was just because I was just trying to remember. Yeah, and this is another proof that I wasn't done learning, because when I came back to Poland at the age of, I don't know, it was like 11-ish, 12-ish. So I already, spoke fluently. So I didn't really need English lessons, although I would have appreciated a bit more attention, because, some teachers were a bit scared and,
scared of you.
Yeah. And in all fairness, they had a lot of kids to deal with. So they really couldn't devote the time to one or two kids, because there was always this, at one school, I had this other girl who her parents were British. So really there wasn't much the teacher could do for her. And so we were always kind of put together in one corner and just read quietly, please. And
just be quiet for 7 years. Just be quiet.
Yeah, and I'm kind of lost myself. I was
no, but we were talking about Britain, and
but one of my friends in high school, she wanted to go to this summer school, the English summer school that was in
England.
Yeah, in Cambridge, and I was like, oh yeah, sounds like fun. So I'll just go. They were a bit confused, when we came there, they tested our levels, and they were like, why are you here? I was like, yeah. She wanted to come. I tagged along, and honestly, I could always learn something new. And it was pretty fun. We spent 3 intense weeks, going to class every single day. And we got to, roam about in Cambridge, which is a university town.
Roam about. That's the word, because everybody knows what roaming is, but they don't know what roam about means. Here comes the context. So I understand we don't need to translate. I guess that all the listeners right now and the viewers, people who are watching us, they will know what roam means. So the girls were roaming about in Cambridge.
So on bikes. It's a good, method of transportation in Cambridge. I did spend a bit longer, because at uni, and this is what attention British English users, my British friends always say uni. They never say university. So I'm trying to copy them now, because it does shorten the word.
But I heard that also in Germany.
Cool.
Because I have this myself, this episode of studying in Germany. And this is what my German friends did. I mean, this is how they call their university, exactly. So maybe it's just international, right? But everybody knows, when you say uni, we know, right? We know what that is. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So you went on an exchange to Germany.
Yes. Yeah. So this is the fun part, right?
Yeah.
As a teacher of English, because, of course, I will not be, there just like you, because I can just pride myself on 2 languages, yes, but I am also communicative in another language that is German, and this comes, I guess, as a bit of a surprise for many people, because I like German, and I like it because it is ordered, right?
Yes.
And there is this structure, and that's why I am so focused, so much focus on structure when I teach students, just to show them, how it goes, and that you have to just see the pattern, and that helps very very much. But coming back to
but just a quick thought on German, because I always people always make fun of German, and I always tell them of course it's going to sound horrible if you say Schmetterling. But if you say Schmetterling like a normal person would, then it sounds like a normal language, and it can be very pretty. It's just don't make it into a bad language.
Yeah, but my German friends, they always say that whenever I speak German, I still speak English, because there is this accent. And I wanted to come back to this accent, because back then, when you were in Britain, you were living there. Did you notice any differences between your language and these words and the people who approached you? Did they notice that you spoke a bit of a different standard?
Yeah. It's I get that a lot. That I tend to come off a bit more as this American English user. Here, my phonetics teacher, he classified me as, he would say light East Coast-ish. So okay, thank you.
We have to put it under your name on the webpage.
Light East Coast.
This is quite a tag.
Yeah, but he's a great teacher, and he told me that I don't need to come to phonetics class because
that's another story. You heard that before. Come to phonetics class.
He said if I want to, and I actually did. I was one of the people who actually did come to all of his classes, because he's really.
But he was British.
No.
He was American.
He was Polish, but he's
But I mean in the standard of the language.
He tried to identify our different accents, and he didn't he didn't want to force anything on us. He just wanted us to stick to one. So that's actually
be consistent.
So at the Institute of English Studies, we don't discriminate. We just encourage. We just encourage you to maybe stick with one as opposed to jump back and forth.
Yes,
but that's for your own peace of mind, as opposed to just any of our personal views on the matter. It's so you can choose whatever you feel best in. So
but still this stay in Britain. So you felt that your language.
I felt that there was a difference in.
And what about your stay in America? Right?
Yeah, so
because you've got this experience of both, right?
Yes.
Not maybe living, but staying in Britain and staying in America.
Yeah, so I spent a term in Vancouver in Canada, and
there was Canada.
Yeah, also. Canada. Yeah, so in Canada I spent a long time, and because I stayed a little bit after as well. And there I did get often this, whenever I said I'm from Poland, they would be like, "Oh, from Portland." And so I really want to go to Portland because
and you went there?
No, I haven't been to Portland. It's in Oregon, I think, and I really want to go because several people thought I was from Portland, so I'm kind of curious now.
Poland is like Holland, So
yeah.
it's like
I did
similar.
get that once because I told someone that that's where I learned English in Holland, and she was like, "You know what? I can hear this." And this is something that personally, native speakers, please don't do this to non-natives. Don't tell us after we tell you where we're from that you can hear an accent, because it's the most annoying thing you could ever do. I'm sorry to tell you that, but I don't like that when people only after you tell them where you're from, they as if they're trying to prove oh, you know what, I would have guessed.
But I guess maybe I guess that is not so much true. So definitely, I think you get this reaction. Just I get myself that whenever we say something in English, of course we are not pretending, we are not native speakers, so we are of Polish origin, but people are rather confused. We start speaking and they're like, okay, so you were born there, right? What is your origin, right? So I don't think it is actually, really, it is, of course, they can hear it, but I believe it is not that easy, actually, to take the finger and say, like, oh, definitely, this is the place where they come from. So I think this is the thing. But you mentioned Canada, and was that America? Yes, there was. You went to America.
I've been a couple times, but for short days. Like, I mean, I have some family there, like probably a lot of people in Poland, this, we have this concept of ciocia z Ameryki. So everyone knows someone like that in one way or another. So yeah, I did, but I think I've spent more time on the West Coast. So Seattle and Los Angeles, that area.
So then again, your ear definitely listened to, British English, to American English, and Canadian English. I guess we never, just discussed that. What about Canadian English? What about that? Is that much different?
No, there actually isn't that as much. I mean, there are differences in words. Like now I'm forever confused, because you know how you can have a beanie, like the hat, and they say, I think, tuke. I can't remember even, because I was confused, like what? And so I know that we're like there's this perception that they say how about or something. I actually haven't heard anyone say that, but I guess that depends again where in Canada you're staying. So.
Yes. Yeah. And have you ever heard, like, would you like a cup of tea, my dear? Because this is what I heard. That was a true story, right? I was staying with some British family, and one day, I think I was just looking out of the window or something, and somebody approached me and said, Would you like a cup of tea, my dear? And I said, oh, wow, they actually say it. It's so true.
I haven't had my dear, but love.
I love it, yes. It's so
right, their love. It's like, yeah, oh, they really do say that. Okay.
That is so...
It's endearing.
Yes, that is so true. So definitely this knowledge of the language, right, of English, be it, British, be it American, be it Canadian or mid-Atlantic approach, you can feel free, right? Because you travel and you meet people, and that kind of experience you also bring to the class, yes? Because you are full of the anecdotes and stories, and this is what you can present to people who meet you.
Yeah, and my different little, problems and, adventures with languages, I think I use them kind of like an inspiration / consolation. Like, don't worry, you're not the only one struggling. Like, even because many people say like, oh, you must be talented, you must have this gift for languages. Indeed, I think there is something there that my brothers and I, we're all quite gifted when it comes to languages. It probably comes from our parents, who are also very, they also speak several languages. So I do say that we're just kind of this... like we have it easier maybe in some way.
Thanks to the genes.
Yeah, and because, our parents also wanted us to learn different languages. So there was,
So languages are important.
Yeah. So that's why we maybe, it seems like we're like talented. But it's also just, we also struggle. There's a lot of hard work that goes into this, as in any skill, basically. So that's why, I keep telling my students, like, like I struggle sometimes with English. I struggle sometimes with French. My brain doesn't always manage to make the jump between different languages. So like,
I would put the middle word here. I wouldn't say you struggle, but I would say that there are the same processes, right? I also repeat that we have the same processes, just like you, but you don't see them, right? Because we are just more experienced and we are more confident. But the processes are there, and that's another interesting fact that you mentioned here. That yes, there is a bit of a talent that you need there, but there is work, and there is just the experience and the feeling of keep going, right? Never don't give up, don't stop it. The learning process never stops.
And the satisfaction that you get out of, for example, the first time successfully surprising your foreign friends by using like something that's so informal and so very like native, or like when okay, right now it's hard. I'm hard pressed for any examples in English, but I'm sorry because I teach English, but I'm more of a student of French myself. So when you say not a man like homme, but you say mec, and that's already like switching the register to something more informal. So I think there's a lot of satisfaction that you can get out of your first like even these little success stories. Like you understand something in a TV series.
Yes.
Like, oh my God, I know that phrasal verb.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So this feeling, and we are working on feelings, I would also say. On these feelings, just keep going. Don't give up. Yep. Alex. So what I would like to do right now is just to sum up what we've been talking about today, what we have discussed, and we covered a couple of channels. Is how people study, right? So there is this input, there is this output. We talked about speaking. This is obvious, but we talk about writing. We talk about reading. How would you prioritize that? And what is your advice? What advice would you give to people, to our students, but also any people studying the language? Right? How did you do it? Tell us the story. Tell us the secret.
Well, I don't know if there's a secret. I mean, as we covered, I think my number one tip would be to find a way to make language, this foreign language that you're trying to learn, enjoyable for you. So whether that will be
on the tip of my tongue. Right?
So, exactly. So whether that is through listening to music or through reading, I don't know, the news or watching TV series. I know it's a cliche, watch TV series or listen to music.
But we have to come back to the foundations. And very often I hear, these, sparkles, these, colors added to it. I mean, to the process. But you have to, the basic, the foundations, right? Some things never change. So you have to come back to the basics. Yes, I wouldn't say it's a cliche. It is just the way it works.
Yeah, so you have to surround yourself. That would be my first tip. So you have to somehow let yourself immerse in whatever aspect that you find interesting. Because first, that's kind of what the method of Speako is about. We try to find what interests the person and use it in a way as a tool to help them learn. So if you are interested in, like your student is interested in diving, so maybe try reading some short articles on diving.
Yes, exactly.
If you like science, there are some great science podcasts. Like, why not?
Yeah.
Or the TED
about the universe. I myself love one. Yes.
Exactly. So to each their own. But the second tip is to also know your weaknesses and not to run away from them, because
that's a point. Yeah.
Like you asked about, that we talked about, reading, writing, listening, and speaking, and I see many students neglecting one part because
they don't like it.
They don't like it, or they're afraid, or they believe they're bad at it. Like every chance I get, I avoid writing in French. But actually, that is the exact opposite of what I should be doing. So
very, very crucial piece of advice. Yes.
So try.
Thank you for saying it out loud, because this is again, I use the expression game changer, but that is this game changer. So yes, keep on going with what you like, but also never neglect what doesn't work for you, because language is this whole, right? So you need to speak, but sometimes also you need to write at least like this short email or just a text or anything, because language is everything, right? So we cannot pick just one thing that works for us, but we should pick the method that works for us, I guess I would say.
And actually, emails are great. They're one thing, but trying to, like we talked about, this
creation.
Stories. Yeah, exactly. Creating stories, because stories are a really great tool for learning a language. Try to, like when I learned Dutch from TV, and my poor dog that we had then had to sit through a number of stories about like Sleep, My Little Princess, because that's literally all I picked up that day from TV, Sleep and Princess. So she had to listen to me countlessly saying this over and over, because that's all I could say to her. So, but tell yourself little stories, or try to like make up little texts to friends. Maybe get a buddy. That's another great tip. Get a buddy.
Yeah. Somebody you can talk to, you can write to.
Even if it's your teacher, like especially if it's your teacher.
Even if that's your teacher.
I insist on writing back to students in English.
Yeah, of course,
I rarely,
because learning never stops.
Yeah,
so
it
in
doesn't
between
stop.
the class, you text, you email, you call them, you talk to them. Because this is, and then it is not this artificial situation. It is the real situation, right? Let's talk, because there is the thing we have to.
Yeah, you still want to communicate, right? So why not just start practicing now?
This is the method. This is the thing. Alex, what can I say? It was just a fantastic, fun. It was fantastic time spent with you. Lovely, lovely discussion. I hope our listeners will get, a lot of enjoyment out of that, because we
too.
enjoy that ourselves.
Yes, although I'm like, you guys probably can see this, but I'm like shaking. It's my first time ever recording
No, we don't see
anything.
this.
So I am really, really stressed right now.
Yeah. So this just proves, right, that we can step into the shoes of our students. We know that they are stressed, and teachers are also stressed sometimes, but the most important thing is just to overcome this, just to try, just push a little bit, and then miracles happen.
Yeah.
That's how it goes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much
Thank
for being
you.
with us today. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.